Hello, everybody. Um, I'm Rachel Glass, the first vice chair of the 34th District Dems and also the chair of programming. So I have been, we wanted to have a program last week during the membership meeting, but scheduling was not allowing us to let that happen. So we're doing it today. Anyway, I think you will be in for a treat because if any one of you who has been thinking, we're so close and we still have to really give it that final push to get over the finish line on the November elections, well, get ready for a nice little push and wind beneath your wings. I want to introduce to you Jason Berlin, who is our special guest this evening. And I just need to get because I want to give him a proper introduction. I'm so sorry. I have had the most nightmarish issue with my computer that has been going on for the last month. So everybody is good, but my computer, I'm going to give him a timeout after this meeting. Okay. Jason Berlin, everyone. Quit his TV writing career after Trump's 2016 election to join the resistance full time. Woo! He founded Field Team 6 with this mission: register Democrats, save the world. They have now helped register over 8.3 million voters and are fighting every day to take back the House and Senate in November and defeat fascism. So without further ado, before we start, Jason, I need to read our land acknowledgement because that is a very important part of our meetings and events that we do every month. So on behalf of the 34th Legislative District Democrats, I acknowledge the land on which we stand today as the traditional home of the Coast Salish and Duwamish people, the traditional home of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, Snoqualmie, Puyallup, and Muckleshoot nations. Without them, we would not have access to this gathering or to this dialogue. And I ask that we take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land on which we live and work, who are still here. And as part of the 34th Dems commitment to walking the walk, of taking action that goes beyond simply a verbal land acknowledgement, we are offering ways that you can take action with us by donating to organizations that benefit Indigenous communities in our district and across the country. So Jordan, if you would be so kind to put the link, if you received it, I sent you the text. Please consider your donation to be a way to solidify your commitment to the advocacy of our Indigenous neighbors. So the organization that I'm highlighting this evening is Real Rent Duwamish, and Jordan has the web address, and he will put that into the chat. So please consider that, take a look at it, go to their website, see what's happening, and consider a donation to that really, really wonderful, valuable organization. Okay, without further ado, friends, I would like to have you put your hands together or wave them high in the air, giving a warm 34th Dems welcome to Jason Berlin. Woo!
Hello. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, 34th LD Dems. And thank you to Rachel and for having me and to Jordan and for Randy for promoting the event. Really, really appreciate it. And really proud and honored to be among you. You are the people who pay attention when no one else is paying attention. You're the people who care when apathy is the epidemic that we're fighting, and you're the people who do something when so many of our friends just hit this button on Facebook all day long and are happy to complain but don't actually cross the threshold into doing something. So thank you so much for being the people who do that. You are the ones who make a difference. You're the ones who have saved the world over and over, and we just need to do it again. But we do need to remember that we've done this before and we keep on doing this. And that even though we don't see the resistance in the media ever, they don't even refer to it, they may say the so-called resistance once a year or less, but we exist. We are millions of people across the country, mainly women, about 50% or more, 60 or over, who are actually, and maybe that is why it's never reported, because this country has a blind spot and, uh, internalized misogyny, and just women in general are invisible. And um, I think that's part of why it's never reported on. And yet the resistance exists and has been responsible for an unprecedented string of electoral victories, a parade of them between 2016 and the fluke election of 24, and since November 2024. Almost every I'm getting ahead of myself, but let me just say that there is real reason for hope here. And in 71 days, and I have to make sure I don't have a cardiac event when I say the number of days before the midterm. Deep breath. 71 days, we are going to strike a mighty blow for that resistance. And we're going to take back the House and hopefully take back the Senate as well. There's a real chance of both, despite everything they've done and are doing to cheat. They know they can't win. That's why they're trying to cheat. Yes, I'm, let me see. I'm Jason Berlin. Everything Rachel said was true. We've helped register over 8.3 million Democrats and independent voters since Field Team 6 started in 2019. Registered Democrats Save the World is still our mission. And that's exactly what we are doing now. Like crazy. We're better than we have ever been at our job. We have the most volunteers we've ever had. We're up to now 40,000 volunteers total across the country, volunteers in every state, and a volunteer staff of over 100 amazing people who lead and are part of over 20 specialized teams that get done all the good that we do. Only 2 people on payroll, including me. Kathy Roll is a super organizer who is one of the staples of Field Team 6. Yeah, so good to see you. Thank you for everything you do. Um, so um, I will let me have the chat open so I can see what's going on there too. Um, I'll introduce you to Field Team 6, what we've done, what our plan is right now to take back the House and Senate in 71 days, and take back the White House in 28, and let you know how to help by volunteering and donating. Spoiler alert, those are the 2 ways. And I can take any questions at the end. But it's an intimate cafe style gathering. I can also take them along the way. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Or you can just unmute and pipe up. I'm totally fine with that. Okay, so big picture, like um why voter registration? Why partisan voter registration? Field Team 6 is the one and only national organization laser focused on partisan voter registration, registering Democrats in every single swing district and state in the country. Those places where just a few new voters can swing an election, that's what we're interested in. We want to do the least work possible for the most effect, and that's how we stretch every donor dollar as far as possible, and every volunteer hour as far as possible, making sure that you have the most impact. That was my goal from the very beginning. Join all the organizations I can, figure out what needs doing most, and that's what I did. After the 2016 election, saw that no one was doing voter registration really at all, and especially not partisan voter registration, and started doing that. Decided to see if we could go national when I started Field Team 6 right after the 2018 midterms. And we could, it turned out. We did go national. And that vacuum that we had seen in California where we started in voter registration. Just no one was doing this job. Every campus we were on, and DMV and courthouse and farmers market, there was no one else doing this. It turned out that is also the case on the national level. There's some local exceptions, and so some groups do almost exclusively nonpartisan voter registration, which okay, we need that too. Um, although in 2024 and since, there have been many studies published that show that nonpartisan voter registration actually tends to net more Republicans than anything else. So I would say it's a very dangerous thing to do right now at this moment in history. That's part of why we are partisan, because ironically, if you believe everyone should be registered to vote, you should not be registering Republicans because not only do they not believe it, but of course, they're attacking every stage in the life cycle of a voter, from registration to voting to fair certification of elections. So that's why at this existential moment, it's super important to register Democrats. Also, as a partisan organization, we can, when we register people, mention what the Democratic Party stands for, like getting ICE out of everywhere, like lowering costs of gas and food and housing and college and healthcare. They don't know that. The people we're talking to in general who are not registered are low or no political information people. So it gives us a huge advantage, Field Team 6, to be partisan. So we can say, this is what Democrats stand for. And by the way, make sure to vote for Roy Cooper if we're in North Carolina, or Sherrod Brown if we're in Ohio, you know? So we can mention candidates' names. But I got off track. I wanted to stick with the big picture and why uh, do this? What's the point of this? So right now, elections are still free and fair. We are in a fluid situation. We're in a battle with fascism. The fascists, Trump and MAGA, are trying to mess with the machinery of elections. They have not succeeded yet. Trump is amazingly good at failure. He is really good at failing, and he doesn't fail in a vacuum. He also fails because we push back at every level with our activism, but people are pushing back at every level from the courts to the states to the streets with No Kings protests, biggest protests in world history. So elections are still free and fair, and we are crushing them. We are seeing, on average, elections since November 2024, on average, they've been swinging 14 to 15 points to the left. Across the country, this is happening, not just in swing districts, but also in deep red districts, deep blue districts. There's this swing to the left. That is amazing. That's not normal. That's because people hate what Trump is doing. And so we have to remember that fascism ends at the ballot box when we, the people, end it. That's why we're doing this. So a little background. I'm going to share just a few slides. I do not like to kill people with slides. Death by slide. The most boring way to go. So yes, here's what we did in 2024. I believe this is at least one of, if not the biggest digital voter drive ever conducted. Thank you to every single volunteer and donor who made this possible. But yes, in 24, we contacted 25 million unregistered likely Democrats using our first of its kind database. The Democratic Party does not have a database like this, not because they couldn't afford it, they're just not interested. The Democratic Party, let me just go off slides to say this insane but true thing. The Democratic Party has done about zero voter registration for the last 20 years. That's insane, right? For the last 20 years, they've done about zero voter registration. So uh, there's reasons for that, bad ones that I can get into if you want, but we are here to fill that gap. So that is what we do. So we put together during COVID, when we were forced to go digital, we started assembling this database that is now millions of unregistered likely Democrats in every single swing state and district in the country. We deem them likely Democrats, likely to register as Democrats, using our own modeling. that we've developed, our volunteer analytics team has developed the best modeling in politics for what unregistered people are going or likely to register as Democrat or progressive independent. They use age, gender, location, some purchase data, some machine learning. You know,
Yeah.
the person owns a lot of tote bags, eats a lot of kale. Um, uh, there are other indicators, but we deem them likely to register as Democrat, and it does work. Our modeling works. The people we register, 80 to 85% are Democrat or independent. So yes, in 24, we contacted 25 million people. Of them, 6 million registered as blue or purple, so as Dems or independent, and 4 million of them voted. Those people were responsible for, yes, Trump won at the top of the ticket, but these voters were responsible for swinging 5 Senate races and 43 House races. So that is major impact. These are our goals: flip the House and Senate in 71 days, and blue trifecta in 28. Keep the House, keep the Senate, flip the White House. We need that so we can pass our holy grail, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. Those two things alone, if we pass those into law, eliminate gerrymandering across the country. They make online voter registration the law of the land in all 50 states. Right, currently, Texas, the second most populous state, has no online voter registration. You may know that. That's insane. And there are other states that where it's just voter suppression. It untilts the map, and just by leveling the playing field, it will make it insanely easier for Democrats to win all across the country. So, and it will restore the Voting Rights Act that was gutted by the Roberts Court in 2013, and further gutted recently with the Calais decision, allowing racist gerrymandering. Just amazing, amazing. There's so much we need to do, but this is the road. This is what I talked about, this 14 to 15 point swing. It changes what is possible, which makes this year an historic opportunity. Let's take it. This is why we've expanded the map to the biggest map we've ever had. And we need you to turn our dreams into reality now. So if the question is, by expanding our map and adding targets, are we going to lose more races? Absolutely is the answer. We will. But we also know that we stand to win in some crazy places that are only possible now and would not have been thinkable in even, even a month or 2 months ago. Iowa and Texas Senate races were just moved to toss up by Cook Political Report a couple of days ago. That is beautiful. We are there. We're going to be fighting there. I just read today that a Trump-aligned super PAC spent $800,000 to promote Darlene Graham in South Carolina, right? That seems like a lot of money to spend on a state that's not in danger. That's because it is in danger. It's in danger of us. It's in play, South Carolina. And, yes, it is a long shot, but it's real. So we're fighting there too. Dr. Annie Andrews is an amazing candidate there, which really helps. Okay. Here is the map. And I will just talk about broad strokes. I won't, and we can get into the weeds if you want to. Ask questions. I love the weeds. It's where I live. But but just broad strokes. There are, as you see in the top over here, this magenta Senate only states. Actually, let me do it this way. In order to flip the House, we need to flip 3 seats total. We're in 48 seats with this map. We don't just want to flip the House. We want to flip it decisively and give ourselves a big margin. 2018 is the year to think about comparing this election to the blue wave of 2018. We've been through a lot of gerrymandering very recently that changes how much we can win by. But as far as the energy that we're seeing with this 14 to 15 point swing to the left, it dwarfs even 2018. So we are on track for a huge victory in 71 days. As far as the Senate, what I'll say is we just need to hold. We need a total of 4 flips to flip the Senate if we hold everything we have. So Georgia and Michigan are the 2 holds to watch. Georgia is looking good right now, but we don't take anything for granted. Polls, don't believe them. Don't believe any polls except the ones on election day. And then Michigan, it's keeping us in suspense. Um, but we know we gotta, register as many Democrats as we can in Michigan. So that's what we're doing all the time. Um, if we hold Georgia and Michigan, let's say we do, we need to flip 4, and this is the path forward. The most easy, likely path. And there are other possibilities, but where's my cursor? I can't find it. Here we go. North Carolina, Roy Cooper. We need to flip that. That's looking good. Maine, we need to flip with Troy Jackson. Absolutely a possibility. That is, and we're working super hard there to make that happen. Ohio, Sherrod Brown. It's it's a dead heat right now, but we definitely have a shot there. And Mary Peltola in Alaska, who has been polling ahead. They do very few polls because it's Alaska, but in the polls they've done, including one recently, it looked good for her. So we can absolutely do this. Other places to watch: Iowa, like I said, dead heat. Texas, that would be a seismic change. But right now, we have supervillain Ken Paxton against real superhero James Tallarico. We haven't had a Democratic senator since Lloyd Benson in 1988, but Senator Tallarico could be the one. Could be the one. So we're looking at that. We're also fighting in long shot stretch goals, Kansas and Mississippi, because you never know, and because we expanded the map based on places where Democrats lost by 15 points or less. And that includes the Senate in Kansas and the Senate in Mississippi. So we're fighting for both of those. And we'll see. This is one thing about um, voter registration work is, elections are binary, progress is not. So you may lose a specific election in Kansas, say, but the Democrats you just registered there stay registered. So it's cumulative work. You build on them election after election. And like Stacey Abrams taught us, you narrow that you lose better over time. So you narrow that margin of defeat until it becomes a margin of victory. In Stacey's case, 10, 15 years before anyone thought it was possible. So um, let's see. This is our plan. This brings us to now. And this is the plan.
Hey, Jason, do you want to take a question or are you on a roll?
No, let's take a question for sure.
So I've got, what methods do you use to reach eligible likely Dems?
We register, thank you. Good question. We register Democrats in every nonviolent way possible. So that includes mainly postcards, texts. We do emails behind the scenes, so that's not a volunteer opportunity, but live voter drives are. So as far as volunteer opportunities, texts, postcards, live voter drives. Yeah, nice, Kathy. Those are some Shepherd Ferry ones that he made for us. Um, and of course, with postcarding, you can use those that we have on our site. You can also use any postcards you like. If you find some cheaper ones or some you like better, use those. But all of those methods are effective and they reach different people. So, everyone wants to know what's the most effective way. Yes, is the answer. That, we only send postcards to people for whom we cannot get an email or a cell phone. And that's based on learnings from the 2022 cycle. We found out some weird stuff. That's and that's such a big part of the reason that Field Team 6 exists, is so that we can accumulate institutional knowledge about voter registration that the party has never done, that I don't know another organization who is doing it in this way, and researching it and finding things out. Like we found when we text and email someone, if we send them a postcard, their registration rate does not go up at all. So we tried sending postcards to people for whom we can't find any email or textable cell phone. And we found that has a huge effect. 1 in 3, 32% of that's off the charts of people we send a postcard to wind up registering to vote as blue or purple, Dem or independent. That's nuts. In 2024, 80% of them voted. So the difference between our postcards and get out the vote postcards that most organizations send is that we're sending not just, and this also applies to our texts and our emails. We're sending this communication to people who are not inundated with all these communications. They don't get all the postcards and texts and mailers because they're unregistered. So they're invisible to the party and all the campaigns. They don't get sent this stuff. That is part of the reason I think that it's so effective. This may be the only political communication they're getting. So yes, get out the vote is absolutely important, but that's why this is so much more effective. Also, what I can say about getting out the vote, it's about there's a huge imbalance between that and voter registration. Activism right now, you think of activism, you think of knocking on a door, getting out the existing voters, right? And while that's super important, right now that's about 99% of things, and we're the 1% over here, like, oh, voices in the wilderness, yelling about voter registration. If we had more than 1% of the activism landscape, we feed that entire get out the vote machine. Every campaign manager of every campaign, when they put together a universe for phone banking or canvassing, people, newly registered voters, Dems and independents go to the top of that list. So that feeds the beast, but we're just 1%. So if we could expand that to 2% or 5%, that would allow us just to win more across the board. So I went down a few different rabbit holes in a row there, but those are the methods we use, and I'll get more into that in a second. So our plan for this cycle is to contact 9 million unregistered likely Democrats. It's going to be more than that. We've actually bought the contacts for about 15 million total, but we'd like to underpromise and overdeliver. So this is our official plan. Contact 9 million unregistered likely Democrats across all our targets. Based on our performance in 22, we believe 3 million will register as Dems and independents. And if they meet the 50% turnout of the 2018, I think it'll be higher, but just to be conservative and in one way in my entire life, I'll be conservative about that. 50%, let's say. So we project 1.5 million votes from this effort. That could change election outcomes across the country. It could decide control of the House and Senate. Here's what we've done so far. Thank you to every single volunteer and donor who has made this possible. But already we've done a huge amount. Yet there is so much more to do. This is our goal. We want to get that 5 million. And this is from about a little over a month ago. So the number we've sent has gone up for sure. But we still have a long way to go and 71 days to get there. 18 million texts is the goal, 18 million emails, 2.5 million postcards, which is how many postcards we sent in 2024. So to match that in a midterm, hell yeah, that would be amazing. This is what gets us there. The two things, volunteers and donations. That is how we get there. And you are our secret weapon. These are all the things I was talking about before, just with a little more detail. These are all the ways to volunteer. Live voter drives absolutely help. That is the best way to get to kids of college age, because it's really tough to get data on young kids. They haven't been around long enough to have a big data footprint. So it's tough to get them into our database. It's great to do voter drives on college campuses, especially during back to school week or two, but even that month is fantastic. It's like, Woodstock or Burning Man for voter registration. It's so much easier than normal times of the year because kids are just signing up for all different kinds of things to be adults. And they're like, oh, here's another thing I need to sign up for. And you manage to register a ton of them. Postcarding, like we talked about, super effective. Great way to register Democrats. 3 different ways to text. We have massive text arcades going on. This is the main thing that we are trying to fund right now in an emergency way. Money has been like just super hard to come by this cycle, especially. I understand why. I understand people were burned out after donating $1.5 billion to to Kamala and Tim, who I love like family, and and then losing. It was very demoralizing, and people thought, okay, forget it. I'm not going to give anymore. That's not the answer. By the way, that $1.5 billion, as I'm sure you know, zero of it went to the grassroots. You and I didn't get any of that. That went to tens of millions of dollars in TV ads, consultants, not grassroots. So text is very effective, but also expensive. We're trying to get text gives us that national wingspan where we want to get into Wisconsin's first and third district. We can get data just for that district and text into it and postcard and email. But texting is super effective. It costs about $3,000 to text 50,000 people. So if we want to text, we're going to send 18 million texts. That's a lot of money. We have to do this, we need to raise $1.5 million total this cycle. So far, we've raised almost 1.2. So we're doing all right. We're doing all right. But like it's that there's no padding in this budget. In fact, like Dale and I have spent our salaries like for the months after that. We're trying to like raise the money to get the job done because that comes first before anything. So what I'm saying is anything helps. You do not have to give 300,000 if you can. Amazing. But really every dollar helps. Every dollar we are able to turn into another blue vote in a swing state or district. So we have these text arcades. Also volunteer, come to our text arcades. We have millions to send out. So yes, come to those. Yes, Rachel.
Yeah. Can you just, I have never heard the term text arcade. Can you just kind of paint the picture of what that is and what it looks like?
Yes, yeah, thank you for reminding me to do that. Yes, Text Arcade is just another way to stretch our budget further and get to more people. So basically, for people who can and are willing to do this, you make a $25 donation, and then you get 1,400 texts to send um,
Mhm.
to a swing district, swing state. It changes Text Arcade to Text Arcade, but yeah, they're held every Tuesday at I believe 3 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, so that just helps stretch our budget a little further. If you want to send a ton of text, you can you can buy more tokens, more $25 tokens for sure, but you can also come to our text arcades. I'm sorry. That didn't make sense. You can also come to our regular text banks where where it's just a send fest. You just send as many as you can. And we're having the next massive text bank is August 29th. And then the one after that is September 9th. And the one on September 9th, we're sending 3 million texts.
Mhm.
I'm super proud of that. There's another one on September 20th that we are just starting to fund, and we need to raise about $87,000 to actually hold that one. We will hold it. We just don't know how many people we're going to be able to afford to text. That's the money cliff. So I'm actually I'm doing 10 hours of call time a week, just calling our donors, trying to raise money. And what it actually turns into is like it's more like 30 to 40 hours total a week of just fundraising. That's my mission in life right now is raising the money so that we can act maximally and not leave a single vote on the table. This cycle, we don't just need to win, we need to stockpile victories. We need to stockpile House districts and Senate seats to to fight against the additional gerrymandering that the GOP is going to do between 26 and 28. They've gotten started, but there are more seats they're going to gerrymander. So we need to win enough that we're shored up against that also. So let me just go back to the last couple slides. Talked about this. This is outdated. We're up to, yeah, almost 1.2 million. $1 a vote. This is the most effective we have ever been. We do get better at our jobs because we continue to run studies on what we're doing, do research, run um, pre-post studies, just looking at everything we're doing so that we can refine our targeting and our messaging and be as effective as possible. Donating helps, like I said, in a huge way. In the last election, 7,309 votes is what gave Republicans control of the House across 3 races, right? That hurts. 7,309. That means that every vote counts. Everything you do counts. And here I can drop the links because QR code is probably not the best way to share this, but here's where to volunteer, find all our volunteer opportunities. Here's where to donate. And if you can't donate right now, first of all, if you can donate anything at all, that helps. $1, $5, 25, a month, that all helps. If you can't donate, or even if you can, and you can think of a rich aunt or a friend of yours who might be interested in hearing about what we do and might be able to help by donating, let me know. I can absolutely do a pitch Zoom to them. It's just a conversation like what we had right now about what we're doing. Let them know how to help and see if they can. So that's another huge way to help. I'll put my contact email in the chat, jason@fieldteam6.org, so you can actually do that. Yeah, if you can brainstorm one person who might be able to help, I will pitch them. There is no minimum. We really need it all. So I just want to say we have a real shot here. I think it's reassuring to me that despite the darkness of the times we're living through, maybe the one consistent source of good news is elections. We are always getting good news from elections, even if it's a super red district where a Republican wins, it's by sometimes by a 21 point fewer margin than last time. So this swing really, it's moving the whole country. People hate Trump and what he's doing more every day because it's terrible. And he's like a machine for alienating every human in society. So I think if you connect each election is a data point, and if you connect all these dots, all these data points, they form a line that is pointing to us winning back the House and I think the Senate. So let's keep going. Let's keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, any other questions or any that I didn't get to? Yeah, Kathy is right. The biggest block is people who didn't vote, which includes unregistered voters. Chipping away at that block is a huge opportunity to activate people who are seeing or feeling the harms of this administration. That is true. The framing that pundits always use is there's Democrats and there's Republicans, and which one can peel a few away from the other. But that's not it. Oh, Randy, you got it. Nice graphic. Awesome. Immediately, you had it on tap. Right. Look at that. You don't even need to see the number, but that huge purple wedge, adult citizens not registered. Right.
Wait, where is this graphic? I
Oh,
don't
in
see it.
Randy's background.
I can mail it to you. I haven't figured out how to put it
Oh,
in chat, but
great.
I-
Yeah.
Look at that huge chunk. So while the pundits are, argue uselessly about how to influence that tiny little yellow wedge there, right? Who cares? No, don't go there. Go to the huge purple wedge. Find the good-hearted, like-minded people who want, by like-minded, that's a huge range of people. I'm talking about we register everyone. People who were Republicans 5 minutes ago, all the way to, Che Guevara / my mom, just like super lefties. Yeah. Yeah, and we need all of us. But that is where we go. Thank you, Randy.
oh, sure.
Nice.
As we discussed Sunday at our Indivisible meeting, you and I and all of us here, we're kind of into politics, so we're aware and we care. But there's a lot of people who are just busy with their family or school or job or smoking weed that just need us to ask them to vote.
Right. That's absolutely true. There was a Pew study a while ago that found that 60% of unregistered people have never been asked. Right? That's like a little heartbreaking, but that's also where we come in. That's our entire reason for existing, we ask. We meet them literally where they are on a college campus or on their phone, in their pocket, on the computer, at home, and or in their mailbox, the postcard, and get the job done. So yeah, thank you all for everything you do. Thank you for helping us do what we do.
And can I jump in for people?
Yeah. Randy, go ahead.
Oh, so for people who don't know, here in West Seattle, we have regular parties, postcarding, which do a lot of Field Team 6 cards. And you can either come to them, or if you have a church group, a bowling club, an affinity group, you want to hold a postcarding party, we'll set you up. Get in touch with me or Catherine. But come to the beverage place at 6:00 on Thursdays, because we can have an adult beverage and postcard, or CMP coffee, 10:30 on Tuesdays. The coffee's good and the conversation's better.
That's awesome.
So there's another question. Thank you, Lori. Jason, do you foresee voter hesitation and apathy to be our largest barrier to success to voter registration?
Yes, that is well put. It sounds like it's written by someone who knows, because apathy is our biggest enemy, way bigger than Republicans. Apathy is the enemy, and you're literally using empathy to beat back apathy when you go out there. On our side is the fact that pain wakes people up, and that is the silver lining to this. This moment in history that none of us would wish on our worst enemy, but the pain is waking it. There's a ton of pain, and it's waking a ton of people up, and you see that in the 3 biggest marches in world history with no kings. And those don't happen in a vacuum. Those correlate to November 25, the best election Democrats have had for decades, and we're going to see something amazing happen, I think, in 71 days also. So yes, apathy is the biggest barrier to success. We try to address that by never saying, can I register you to vote? We attach it to it, because that's not a value to people who are not registered. We try to attach it to a value. So we try to, on an in-person voter drive, for example, on a college campus, we start conversations a lot of the time by saying, hey, can I offer you a free sticker? People go nuts for stickers. Even grown adults go bonkers. It's hilarious, you'll find. But these stickers all are issues. They say my body, my choice, or Black Lives Matter, or ICE out of everywhere. And by the sticker, there are like 9 of them. By the sticker the person chooses, you know what to talk to them about. It's like a little fortune teller's trick. And then you're talking to them about what they're interested in. And so that's a great way to find the thing that they're not apathetic about. What we're finding on college campuses right now is ICE is a huge issue, and kids are walking away. Some of our voter drive volunteers have said, hey, can you help me get rid of ICE? And kids turn around and wind up getting registered. So we're always looking for that hook that gets past people's apathy, cuts through it.
Any other questions, or just like you want to clarify something, or you don't know, like you had a thought? Because truly no question is stupid. I mean, any question is good, and the chances are, if you're asking a question, somebody else in their own silence wants to know that too. So I consider all questions valuable. Bunny, go ahead.
Have you found that people are reluctant to admit that they're not registered? I live on Vashon, and the long ferry lines are really fertile ground for me to hand out literature and stuff and get people registered. But I have found it's more effective to ask them, is your registration up to date?
Great. Yeah.
Because if you say, are you registered? A lot of people don't want to admit that they aren't. And that's an opportunity that we're missing.
Yeah.
And have you
Yeah.
found that to be the case, that when you ask people, are they registered, they're going to lie to you and say yes?
That's another reason that we approach them saying, "Hey, can I give you a free sticker?" Or the line that I used for years is, "Excuse me, miss, can you help me save the world from Trump?" And then that gets their attention, and then you answer their unspoken question, "Sure, but are you insane?" By saying, "Can I register you to vote as a Democrat?" or something like that. Can I register you right now? But yeah, I love that. So we start with an issue, I would suggest, but then yeah, I love that. Yeah, is can I make sure your registration's up to date? Have you
Right.
moved since? Sure, that saves some face. Yeah.
Gail, you have a question here, and it says the Second Voting Rights Act name. Are you talking about the John Lewis Act?
No, I'm talking about that was the
vote.
first one mentioned. I'm talking about the second one.
Oh,
Yeah, the Freedom to Vote Act is the other one.
Freedom to Vote Act. Thank you so much. I'm writing it down.
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. I wish our Democratic leaders and I wish the just more candidates would name check these acts like Kamala did. She said she wanted to pass both, and she would say the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. She'd use the whole title. She wouldn't just say the John Lewis, and the Freedom to Vote Act. I wish more of our Democratic candidates would talk about. Maybe it's not time yet, but I don't know. Just we need to have that firmly in mind as the thing we need most as soon as we get that blue trifecta back.
I have a question about the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Advancement Act. What are the things, the items, the elements in those acts that are going to make gerrymandering? You said something about it's going to make gerrymandering irrelevant or illegal, or what was the thing?
Yeah, it eliminates gerrymandering, and that
how does that
across the country. That's a good question. I need to, I don't remember. I have to look into that. Whether it's it creates independent redistricting commissions. I'm not sure. But I know that's a major effect of both of those passing. It also makes Election Day a federal holiday. It ensures a certain number of early voting days in every state. It is really just pro voting rights across the whole country, and it restores the protections that were just gutted in the Calais decision, that just taking all the teeth out of the Voting Rights Act, because Roberts likes to pretend that racism is gone, and then the same afternoon he guts the Voting Rights Act. States throughout the South have laws, in the pipeline to, for voter ID, just all these disenfranchisement, poll tax kind of things, Jim Crow too.
Does any other questions? Anyone have any other things they want to ask Jason while we've got him here? It's a great opportunity just to find out all the things you wanted to know. And Kathy has put some fantastic links into the chat about if you want to hop in on the text arcades and the text banks to help out, to text for Field Team 6. I recruited my family, and this was during COVID. I'm pretty sure it was 2020 and then 2022. and we texted for Field Team 6, and that was fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, it was so empowering, and I recommend that to anybody, just because it makes you feel like you're doing something. And then when your candidate wins, when the candidate that you wrote a postcard for or made a phone call for, when they win, it makes it so empowering. It makes you feel like you did it. You were the one that made that happen. And I mean, if we're talking about an antidote to apathy, that is one of those things. It just makes you feel like you can make a difference. And that's an apathy killer in my book.
Yes. I mean, you feel like you're the one who did it, but you may also be the one who did it because, you know, in California's 13th district, Adam Gray, Democrat, won in 2024 by 187 votes. There were 18 House races that were decided by less than 10,000 votes that year. So 18 races. So everything really does count. Yeah. Yeah. All right. You're wonderful. I definitely will answer any more questions, but if there aren't any, or if you want to wrap it up, I just want to say you're all wonderful and just inspiring to me. And please keep going, and please continue to be the amazing badasses that you are.
And right back at you, Jason. You are doing amazing work, and it makes a difference. And we are just really grateful to have your wisdom here to help us, you know, as we start on our, you know, the final few months until the election. So anyway, thanks again so much. Thank you everybody for being here, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks for our next meeting, and also for Bend It Like Booker, which is going to happen that weekend after that, September 12th and 13th. So I will be sending out more info about that too. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great evening, and we will see you soon. And thanks
Thank you so much. Yay. Thank you, guys. See you soon.